Hello and welcome back to the Eternal Dawn channel. I am your captain, Straw Hat Lucas, and I'm joined today by some of my lovely crew members as we are here to discuss One Piece chapter 1143. Let's go around the table and let everybody say hi real quick. We'll start with my first mate, my right-hand man, the historian of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. Cube of the Red Sea. How you doing today, Cube?
What up, what up? Oh man, I'm doing good. Happy, another fiery chapter. Oda keeps cooking. I won't lie, Elbaf is really becoming one of my top favorite arcs right now. So fast.
Yeah, I can agree. We'll speak more on that at the end, but yes, let's go right on to the next member of the crew, the helmsman of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. Knack Reacts. How you doing today, Knack?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? I can't wait to get into this chapter, titled God's Knights, and see what kind of stuff we get here. There's a lot to unpack here, and we'll get into that very shortly.
Actually, it's Holy Knights, but last and certainly not least, one of my best friends in the entire world, head cook of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. Vexus, the Lurking Legend. How we doing today, Vex?
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Vexus, Lurking Legend. Y'all can just call me Vex. I'm killing it. I'm on fire. I'm loving it. We're catching W's. Shout out to the whole TED crew. Shout out to the community. Shout out to Oda. Shout out to Elbaf. I'm loving it.
Let's go. They need to call it Wellbath because there ain't no L's here. Starting us out today, we have a lovely color spread. I know some people kind of get upset when we have a nice little color spread just because they don't get more towards the cover stories, but I'm not gonna lie, I love these. I love seeing the crew just goofing around. Like in this one specifically, they're riding the fish. Zoro and Luffy are Luffy's face. I didn't realize how goofy he looked until just now. He is looking menacing. Like, look at that grin. He's like, not today, Roanoa. Does anyone have anything specific that they want to point out about the color spread this time?
Other than it's awesome? No. Like, sometimes you can dig into these, but I find looking back on them always better than trying to look ahead to them.
That's what I always see as well. I love Robin and Brooke hanging out. It's a pairing we don't get to see very often. Same with Usopp and Frankie. I love when the Straw Hats pair up and it's different than what the norm usually is. That's always a good thing. Vex, any thoughts on the color spread before we move on to the chapter?
Yeah, I think it's goofy. It's lighthearted. It's fun, and in the midst of like the crazy stuff that's going on right now, it's a little bit pace breaking, which sometimes we need that, you know what I mean? But I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, when I first read Speed is the Weapon, I read it as Speed is the Wagon, and I was like, REO Speedwagon? Let's go.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm wondering if it ties to the cover story, like the Yama, because Speed is like a part of that as well, like the horse lady.
Oh my God, Speed is
but
Pluton.
Probably not.
No.
Pluton is a horse? Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah. Sorry, Dak. No.
I mean, we do be stacking dubs.
We do be stacking dubs. We doobie. So let's get into the chapter. We get a amazing opening panel of the nightmarish monsters that were pulled from the children's dreams attacking the Walrus School. As Saul is trying his best to kind of stir the sleepwalking children. And it is here that he attempts to grab them. Robin actually warns Saul and points out about the teacher previously, with Chopper even, kind of backing her up here, being like, the one that was all injured?
Yeah, we talked about this last week about why it would be why aren't they able to touch the children, and you see the damage on Mr. Wolf, I think it was, and
the PE teacher.
Yeah, it was. So we all kind of speculated there has to be something else to it, like if they come in contact with them. Now I thought that they would also fall asleep if they touch the children. I didn't expect them to be so physical with it, but yeah. They're protected in a
Uh,
sense.
Yeah, and I think we could actually kind of blend right into the next page here, where Saul does go to grab one of the children, and thorns, invisible thorns, from what we can see, straight grind his hands up. Which I'm considering this a dub for the crew. The minute that Sommers was introduced, we all were talking about how, you know, he more than likely had something to do with roses because of his scabbard, and not only his scabbard, but his lapel with roses. And as the great Brett Michaels once said, every rose has its thorns.
Stop. Don't do this.
No, but for real,
Really,
it's pretty
Oh.
twisted because they're invisible until they come in contact with it. It doesn't matter how much force Saul was going to grab the child with. You know what I mean? Like these kind of extend
Yeah.
into the opponent.
I think so as well. I also think that
I don't even think
The-
that it's like I don't think it's expressly said that they're visible. Like I think this is just like an illustration for our sake. But I
Right.
don't know if
Yeah.
Saul can actually see what's jabbing into him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Do you think with the way that they are drawn, the thorns are moving? Because that's how I'm perceiving it, is that they're not stationary. They're actually like rotating around the child, which would cause even more damage.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, we don't see any movement like in the
Mhm.
panel, but like I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, and this is just an expression of what happened in that instant. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, these could simply be something not necessarily tangible, meaning that they don't have to like what we consider movement for like as far as like visible light and physical objects probably might not apply to because these could be like metaphysical constructs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, I didn't realize Saul had a peg leg.
Come
Yeah.
on, bro. Where you been?
I'm being
Catch up,
serious.
dude.
I did not notice it until this chapter. So that was a surprise.
Before we
People
move
were
on,
pointing
though,
it
to
out
the
when he
next
was
chapter.
reintroduced because of the parallels with Aokiji or Kuzan.
Yeah.
Right. But before we move on to the next page, excuse me, I just want to shout out the whole crew for calling that all this stuff is a combination of the God's Knight's powers working in tandem. This isn't one individual power at work here. We have the arrow from Gunko, and we find out, well, we get into it later, but we find out that the dreams are from Killingham and the thorns are from Sommers.
Yeah, that was a good call on all of our parts. We got quite a few crew dubs this chapter, I will say. I'm proud of us. We'll get more into the other ones later. But yeah, I mean, Saul looks, before we move on to the next page, he looks pretty messed up from this. And I think this goes more into what Vexus was saying, and kind of what we've all been saying, is that those are not visible to them. It's only visible to the reader because we need a reference point to what's happening. Because if you notice the reaction of everyone, they're like, "What happened? Did something stab you?" Like, yeah, thorns, man. What?
Yeah.
Could also be how Robin's fruit was first introduced. It was so rapid on the Straw Hat ship that it looked like she was using like telekinesis.
Oh
it could
yeah,
be
I
like,
remember that.
like Gara's absolute defense, like the sword just instantly that we're seeing the brief instance, but it's so fast as well as that they barely see what happened. Blindsided.
Ooh, I like that. Almost like
I think that's the
grinder
implication
of
too,
thorns.
because we don't see anything around the kids in any other panel other than when they're grabbed.
We didn't get into the message that is going out from the Walrus School as they are pleading to the warriors of Elbath who are still in the West Village getting sloshed. I wish 3-Day was here because we could finally put this whole evil to rest. Sadly, she was captured by CP9 this week. I have to fight Rob Lucci, and I'm not looking forward to it. But Ange is the one calling this in. So that goes to kind of against her agenda of Ange being one of the bad guys.
I mean,
I don't know.
for your defense, you know, because I'm not 100% in the train, but to defend you guys, Oda likes to his favorite type of traders are the traders that you would never question. You know, like in the faction, they would do everything that's a loyal person, you know, and then there's just small breadcrumbs. So
Yeah,
it
but
could be
I don't
just her
know.
playing the role. Her playing the role.
With every other trader that we've had in One Piece, which we've only had like maybe one huge significant trader really in Kanjuro. Well, yeah. Who else would
Crazy.
you consider like a massive trader? Was it Squad? Squad was forgiven immediately.
In Cypher
Conjure.
Line with like literally
have a-
undercover, like they were literally traitors to people they worked with
Yeah,
for
but-
years.
Yeah,
Stussy,
but that was just them doing their
Denjiro,
job.
Blackbeard.
Stussy's on our side. That doesn't count.
Virgo,
I mean, but
Marines.
she still betrayed a faction. You know, you could still
There's been,
analyze
like-
even if.
There's
Yeah.
been
There's
like
only
a
one
traitor
traitor.
per arc.
Yeah.
There's only one
Gar-
true trader, and it's Conjuro. Okay, don't fight me on this, guys.
It was a great
He gave us
execution.
Ryunosuke.
It was.
Yeah,
It
he
was a
gave
great
us
execution.
Ryunosuke. How dare
listen,
you? But
The minute we saw him, and he kept eating the lettuce with his right hand, drawing with his left hand, and I was like, that guy is suspicious. And then when
No, he
Wano came around, I was like,
gave up.
I was right. I'm dead serious. I'm
okay,
dead serious.
but regardless,
Ugh.
to put it, you know, to get us back on track, and,
Yeah, sorry.
no matter what you say, the Ange doubters are not going to buy into it, especially something as loose as this. But like, I've never believed. Like, I think she's a nice lady,
Me
but there's
too.
still people out there who are going for her throat, and I'm like, okay, you do you, bro. I personally
No
think
worries.
Ange is a red herring.
If she has red
Dude,
hair in the anime, I'm gonna lose it.
Dude, I am so happy Vex is saying that because I'll say this: when we find out that Ange is not a traitor at all, 3D and Lucas is gonna have to go to an apology tour in every stream to apologize to Ange.
We are, yeah. I'll sing Ange for her.
She's a nice lady, y'all. Like,
She is a
she's
nice
worried
lady.
about these children.
Which, speaking of the children, I don't know why, but I just found it so fascinating that a lot of the people that were celebrating in the Western, crap, my kids are there. You know what I mean? I'm wondering how many of the giant warrior pirates have children that are at that school. And I'm not talking about the new giant warrior pirates, Hydruden and them. I'm talking about like Dory and Brogy's old crew, because they would be in the age of having children and raising them on Elbaf now, especially since they stopped their pirating ways. And I really hope we kind of get to see more of the pirate or the giant families. I know that sounds a little weird, but like
I disagree respectfully. Like,
Oh,
honestly, the fact that we're getting like, I don't know, like we got like Ilva and like Magu and like some other name and like some of the names of these kids that they were shouting at the beginning of this chapter, and like legitimately, I until Oda really does something and whisks me away with these side characters, I don't give a shit. Oda, I'm sorry. Like, I like, we have so many other things going on right now in the world, not even just like isolated here on Elbaf, but especially here on Elbaf, because that's where our straw hats are, our protagonists. But like, give me Crossguild, give me like what's going on with Frankie, give me like, you know, what's going on with like Vegapunk and Bonnie, and so like there's so many things like irons in the fire right now. Like, I don't need like 40 more proper nouns to have to remember. Like, some is cool, like some of them is fine, I totally understand it, and I'm not upset with like us getting these names of these gods knights. That's cool as well. And like some of these kids, cool. I don't need to know like their whole family tree. Like, give them the Zoro treatment.
I
let's
get you.
save all that for an SBS, you know.
So
I
for
got a
the
hot
Dory
take.
Broggy one, oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, well, actually,
was
it
a hot
ties
take.
into what we were talking about earlier, Cube. My hot take is it's the same kid they're talking about. Ilva is Dory's daughter, and also Yarule's great-great-granddaughter.
Oh, that would be cool, actually.
Because it's the
Yeah,
only
my
kid
hot
we've
take-
gotten, like, up close other than Colin. So what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Just
Where
throw another
is
kid into
Colin?
the mix? I mean, probably
Is
Oh, he
training
was
to
Colin
be
with
an
in the
actual
Western
warrior.
Village?
He was with the kids,
Well,
so at the school.
he
all we
wasn't
know.
with the kids until like after the Straw Hat showed up. Like he, like, I don't know, the way that I kind of interpreted it whenever he was reintroduced, and when he took a swing at Luffy, was he's the troublemaker. He's like the Naruto of the bunch. Like he wasn't at school learning with the rest of the kids. He was probably off training. So I don't know.
Yeah.
He might not be immediately adjacent to what's going on right here. And we even learn in this chapter that apparently it's only 9 of the children. There's probably more than 9 kids on Elbaf, but only 9 of them are unconscious and walking, the main branch path to wherever the gods or the Holy Knights want them. So
yeah, heading towards the 8th branch.
Yeah, so there's more kids that have not been affected. This isn't every kid on Elbaf. It's specifically just 9. And we got the names of 3 of them at the beginning of this chapter. But so I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool if we get like a Colin swooping in to save the day because everyone else is busy elsewhere. But I don't know if we're gonna get that.
Yeah. My hot take with how Nak said it, when Dorian Boggy says my kid is there, I've always said that. What if it's a reference to either Colin or Ripley? Especially on how, because I don't think Oda's gonna do this thing that he always does with a child, but he doesn't drop us like many child at a time. It would be too much, and Oda and it would explain, Ripley's comments about what type of warrior she is from Elbaf, and Colin's obsession of fighting all the time, and the trope of crazy grandfather, crazy parent, and even crazier child.
Oh, I like that. Though. I like the idea
so,
of the Ripley's lineage being tied to Dorian Brogy. One of the two. Before we move on to the next page, I do have to say too, I love that we're getting. This is the second transponder snail that we've gotten on Elbaf that is specific to Elbaf. We got the woolly snail, and now we got the telediction snail.
That's a fake word.
Telediction.
What's a fake word?
Telediction. I'm not even joking. It literally isn't a word in English.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like a television addiction for me when I first read it.
I was like, what does this mean?
I saw diction as like dictate, as in visual dictation, is what I thought it was.
I'm waiting for officials. That's not a real word.
Yeah, that ain't a real word. I didn't even pick up on that because I just immediately used the prefix of tele and then diction, like I said, for dictation.
Wait,
and I was like, okay, there we go.
You guys tell me you've never used the word teledict? Me and Vex says it all the time. We use it all the time when we're talking to one another, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's so weird.
I'm so sure, yeah.
Don't you put that evil on me.
Shout out, once more, shout out Brooks still rocking his head attached to his belt buckle.
And telling everybody to stay calm.
Yeah, telling everybody to
He said, hey, everybody keep your head on your shoulders.
But yes, we do see that the 8th branch is where the children are headed.
Call back Salvador.
Yeah, well, oh. What do you mean?
The branches are numbered, just like the islands were.
Good catch.
The groves.
The groves,
yes.
Yeah. They're all one tree. I don't know what you're talking about, Vex. So, I mean, what I'm a little confused, and this may just be comprehension of the chapter's layout.
What's up?
Is the 8th branch the same branch that is on fire?
I think so.
If you just want to take a moment to look ahead, you get a little map.
Yeah, it shows a little
you're right.
diagram, and the 8th branch is like, it's just past the fire. Like they gotta walk right by the fire to get to it, right?
It's a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a concern for their path. We can get into it, but they're very careless about where they're sending the kids right now.
Speaking of fire, we're shown, is this another type of ship, like a fire svarl or whatever? Like, is this like a faster airship, basically? Is what we're shown here in this panel?
Yeah.
Like a fire
That's
truck.
what I was wondering as well.
It's kind of sick.
It's equipped with
like
very
sick.
water cannons or something.
Yeah,
that's
like
what I was wondering, is if it carried it.
Like
like if it was carrying water.
Yeah, even how they space it, it kind of makes it like a unit of firefighters or like a response unit. That's how they say it. Has been dispatched. Go fire brigade. We're counting on you.
The guy
That kinda makes
cranking
sense.
the horn is so good. Like he's ready to fight that.
He's like the most
He just-
Frankie coded person I've ever
Yeah,
seen. Of
I
course,
know,
Lucas is
right?
gonna like adhere to him. Like,
I have no idea what you're. I'm not biased at all.
oh my god. I also I don't know if it's this is like the ship is the way it's colorized in this. It's like pitch black.
Yep.
And like
Very
I don't know,
interesting.
man. I'm not somebody who really likes to pontificate about the whole man marked by flames thing.
Oh.
But how many
Pitch
pitch
black
black ships do
too.
we see? And it's literally called like the Fire Brigade, man marked by flames. I don't know. I don't think there's really anything there. I'm just like, it's very curious.
What if the water
Yeah, very,
cannons
very
make
curious.
whirlpools?
I mean, I've always said-
Are we
I've always
cooking?
said-
Are we
Yeah,
cooking?
I've also said it's
Woo.
kind of weird. Kid, the last thing he said to Killer and Wano, he said we have to go see the Man Marked by Flames, and the next time we see him, he's going to Elbaf. So, like, it's
Ooh.
also like it's indicating that that person is definitely on that island.
I don't think
he's
it's
a firefighter
crazy.
in OF.
I think it would be like
Listen-
crazy in a concept, but I don't think we're crazy for looking at this like this.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, with One Piece, you have to look at every possibility.
But they don't.
Yeah,
they
I don't
get
put a lot of
murked,
stock
though.
in. I don't put a lot of stock into it. I'm just saying it's interesting because
It is.
there's a few things that you can connect some dots here and there, and there's not many other places in the story where you can connect the dots like a pitch black ship and being literally like occupationally tied to fire. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So moving on to the next page, the Fire Brigade is actually attacked. Now, this creature was called by a certain name, and I cannot remember. It starts with a D.
Draugr.
Draugr. Thank you very much. Yeah, this thing one-shots that ship. So
I think he's cool.
I do
He's
too.
so sick.
He's chill. He's just like he's one of my favorite looking. Yeah, of the silhouettes or like of the nightmare like Colossus. Like this is one of my favorites. He's kind of him. I'm not gonna lie.
He didn't even draw his sword, guys. He just like pop.
Yeah, no. Bop.
If this
tells me-
thing makes one skull joke, top 5. Top 5 favorite character. But this is
Oh.
bad. This is not a good situation. I'm just trying to make light of it, you know.
Oh no!
Well,
the fact he just took out a crew of giants in one swipe is not
Yeah, dude.
not good.
That's
It's crazy.
That's what I was about to say. Is that like I'm wondering if it's because of with most devil fruits, like the construct of the devil fruit user is based, like the strength of it is based on the strength of the user. So I'm wondering if this is just like if that thing, which is just a dream that was made by killing him, is that strong. That only goes to speak for how strong killing him is.
Well, I think it's
mean,
something to
remember
say
his
about the
constitution.
belief
Remember-
of the children, because if the children believe these are
Ooh,
real
yeah.
things, and then they're drawn out of their dreams, like then they're treated as real. Just like
I mean,
you know, we'll get more context on his power in a bit, but like it seems that
Yeah,
they're
remember what
just
you-
as tangible as you believe them to be, even though they're not real.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, Cube?
it kind of makes you think of the Hyogoro was very specific on some of the terms he said for Rio, and he explained flow and hockey, and he kept repeating to him about just use your memories to strengthen them. He never talked about like to get physically stronger. It was all about spiritual, like awakening in a way. So I wouldn't be shocked that the stronger is the belief, or stronger is the dream, the bigger is the entity. Like it's nothing to do about your own like you have a certain level to reach to be able to make this level of they can easily make Zunisha's size depending of if the belief is strong enough.
Yeah, I see what
No.
you're saying.
But
That's
I like
interesting.
this. You know why? Because after that huge blade in Wano plus the size of Zunisha, this gives more clarification that there were other creations or entities who were that big. Because before that it was like
Mhm.
like we found a sword in Wano, they never talk about it. We see Zunisha. It only mentioned that it's the last of its kind, and it's from at least 800 years ago. It does give context
Wait,
of
a sword
some
in
of those-
Wano? What do you mean?
Those
Oh,
double
Hiroshima.
swords, the massive two swords. Onigashima, I mean,
yeah.
Onigashima.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like they're so massive.
Onigashima.
Yeah, they're so massive, you know. So it's interesting to see that we're seeing through the God's Night storyline or Holy Knights, depending how you like to say it, that type of size creation. So it's interesting. We're finally getting to that lore, giant piece,
Yeah.
as I call it, or gigantic piece.
That's gigantic piece. And I love that this page ends like one more time. Draugr, is that it?
Draugr, yep.
Yeah, okay. The Draugr knocks him out of the sky, and then seeing the giant warrior pirate all doing the Enel face, and our boy Ja Rule, as
They're
Vex loves to call
hammered,
him. Yeah, they're hammered, and just imagine that. You're drunk, you're chilling with your buddies, all of a sudden you get a call, there's a fire, kids are getting kidnapped, and the next thing you know, Draugr's out. Like giant Draugr. Like,
I find it hilarious because even you go back a bit where he's like, "Oh, this is awful. My great granddaughter goes there," and like he's just whining and crying. Oh, he's hammered. He's not ready for this.
There's one thing I want, and it's just a small funny moment, but it would be so hilarious if during this whole mayhem, Chopper doesn't see those creations, and he's alone at one point, and he sees the giant one right now, the skeleton, and he runs towards him. Oh wait, hey, Brooke is over there. Let me go.
Oh my god.
Sabaody style.
yeah. Like
Oh
Chopper is the
my
type
God.
of person to just say, "Oh, Brooke is there," and then saying, "Oh, Brooke, why you're attacking me?"
Yeah. Brooke, how'd you get so big? We didn't get. We move on to the God's Nights, Holy Nights. Actually, enjoying a nice meal together.
I actually like high key love this. Like this,
So do I.
there's so much personality between this little back and forth exchange we get here. It's shown from they all three get like such an interesting showing. Somers was kind of my guy already, and I think some of the things that he was saying I don't agree with, but I think it's very good characterization. And we see like the stoicism from Gunko, and then Killingham's just like, dude, like I don't know. There's such an interesting little repertoire that seems to be being built up, and it seems like there's even some unfamiliarity with certain ways things are worded. But I'm gonna wait until the officials before I really start to like fabricate any ideas on that. But this is so interesting because absolute chaos is ensuing across Elbaf, and these guys are just having a nice little picnic.
They have a tablecloth and everything.
It's so
amazing.
interesting.
Can I be honest? Something that I've always felt was lacking from some of the One Piece villains is the crew dynamic that we see within the Straw Hats and other pirate crews as well, like the Heart Pirates. It's something we saw kind of in Baroque works, like Crocodile did have some kind of compassion for his crew, except for Mr. 3, because Mr. 3 was a failure, but nonetheless, like he did treat them as acquaintances, you know what I mean? And like you had said, Vex, this whole repertoire between them, and it, like talking to each other, and like him calling Gunko a stick in the mud and stuff, like it feels like that crew dynamic almost. Like these people actually know each other. They spend time with each other. They're not just people working together.
It feels like, because ever since post, because I've always said that's the issue of post Dressrosa, on how it, you know, stretched with all the lore dump it needs to have. It feels like we're back to Dressrosa level villains with, you know, meeting the entire crew, or pre-Dressrosa, you know, like we've had that with the Fishman pirates, the new Fishman pirates, so we saw like which one did not like which, like the whole Hachan mini story of how they didn't respect Hachan, or the Flamingo pirates, how they all mocked Bellamy and those kind of stuff, you know. Nothing that we've ever, we've Beast Pirates, the problem is that you're right, we've only had that with like 5 Beast Pirates, but then the rest is just fodder.
And it's something I've missed a lot. Like the Doflamingo family felt like a family. Like they took care of each other. They all mocked Bellamy together. Like, and it's something I've missed a lot in One Piece, because you can say the same thing about Big Mom children as well. You know, they all took care of each other in some way. Some of them didn't like each other and stuff like that, but the relationship with Branch and Katakuri.
Such a great relation.
Yeah, exactly. Like and it's something that we missed out with the Beast Pirates. The only real connections we got were between Kaido and King, and I just wish that we had more of that. So to see it here with the Holy Knights is just phenomenal to me. We
See,
then
I don't
got-
know
go
how
ahead.
tight knit they are, because specifically, and some of this might just be it falling victim to the narrative in the fact that somebody has to exposit this to us in some form or another. But like, because some things authors will choose to like have their characters say, and it's like you wouldn't actually say that if you were in this situation. But there's like a bit of a back and forth here between Killingham and Somers, where we get their devil fruits revealed. And so we find out that Somers is a thorn fruit. He's a briar man, and then we have the dragon fruit mythical model, Kirin, like a dream materialization man. And he mentions, as he's like, hey, this needs salt, he straight knocks Killingham straight knocks Somers out and pulls salt that he just incepted into this guy's mind out of his dream bubble, which is crazy. And we can talk more about that in just a second. But he says, he mentions this type of salt, and he says, oh, you're ever the connoisseur, as if he has an air of like familiarity. But then specifically in the next panel, in the next text bubble, Somers wakes back up and he's like, oh, that's that ability used to pull those, dream demons out of those brats, right? As if he is unfamiliar with that ability. So it's a little bit of both. It's that, yes, they do have some sort of rapport, but there's also like, maybe they haven't been put on assignment together, so they only know of each other slightly. I don't know. It's like, it still seems like partly they're fresh to each other, which is very interesting.
You have that also with I call that the last couple chapters with Gonko being shocked of Shamrock not caring that Loki just disrespected being a celestial dragon, a holy knight, and she was like taken aback when she sees Somers first appearing. It's like it almost looks like it's one of the first time, and she's so embarrassed for him and can't even talk, like she's taken aback from it. Yeah, it feels like some of them haven't been in a mission together at all.
Well, there's also the conversation where it's just like, what is it that you fear, Gonko?
Exactly,
it's like, you wouldn't ask that if you knew this person to that crew level. Like, I'm pretty sure each of the Straw Hats deep down knows that about each of their crew members. So like, it's very interesting because it's like keeping us on our toes about it. We don't know exactly to what degree these people are familiar with each other, because it's obviously to some degree, but not like quite to the like familial degree.
Yeah, it almost feels like when you go out with your like coworkers after work and you start to get to know them a little bit. That's what it kind of feels like. Like they're having dinner together. Oh yeah, look at me, I'm a briar man. Which, okay, I do have a question for the crew. Nak, did you have something before I get into this?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So what do we think the thorn fruit is? Paramecia? Logia? Obviously not Zone.
Paramecia, for sure.
Paramecia? See, I was thinking the same thing, but then I remember that things found in nature are usually Logia types, so then I was like, oh, gum fruit. Oh, wait, there's no gum fruit. I went to a whole spiral about this. And maybe I'm just, I want to see more.
The way it works in such a long distance, we've seen Logias like obviously natural thing, but kind of gives me the idea of Paramecia. We do have the natural aspect that some Paramecia have, and also the long distance that almost a lot of Paramecia share more than Logias, because they're not that close. And he's still,
so the general rule of thumb with this is it's Paramecia until proven otherwise. When it comes to these types of things, I assume that this is just a generative style of Paramecia. We haven't seen him turn himself into thorns, which would be characteristic of a Logia, and we already have like Green Bull, and Green Bull has with the Mori Mori no Mi, it's like that is a fruit, a Logia fruit that would essentially be able to do that already. So I don't believe that this would be a lesser or greater version of that Logia, like we have seen with the Hie Hie no Mi, Kuzan's fruit, and the Yuki Yuki no Mi, Monet's fruit, rest in peace.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case here. I think it's just, again, and I've been asking for this, thank you so much, Oda, if this is in fact the case, but I think it's just a basic Paramecia that somebody took to the fully cracked extent. And my general rule of thumb is if we don't see them turn into that substance, If only we
Yep.
only see them manipulate or generate it, it's a paramecia until proven otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
I,
with this, I won't lie, this exchange with the tea party and everything, you know, talking about what's happening with the giants, you know, mocking them, kind of gives me and the way the abilities are being used to, you know, take care of the giants, kind of gives me the vibe of Little Garden. With Mr. Stream Miss Golden Week, talking to Mr. Five Miss Valentine, talking about like the legend of the giant, while at the same time mocking them because they've set their traps onto them. And they were
Yep.
having, you know, then later on you have a tea party, so it did give me Little Garden vibes, this whole exchange.
Yeah, I
speaking
feel
of
that.
Baroque works, we had a Baroque works agent also that had a spike fruit. Could
Yeah.
be a lesser form of the thorn fruit.
Ooh, I
Who
like that.
knows?
We cannot brush past like how vile what he's saying actually is. Like he's talking about, you know, the love parents have for their kids, and the more love that they have, the more dangerous his thorns becomes. This is what I mean earlier when I said the thorns are probably not predetermined. Like it doesn't matter,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? It matters how much you care for the individual that you're trying to grab. And then
I didn't even
They-
think about that.
they respond based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since Saul cares for those students deeply as a teacher in some regard, you know, he takes care of the library and whatnot. It would make sense that he does have some sort of love for them. So that's hurt. Mr. Wolf, who spends time with these children every day, was terribly wounded by the thorns, and that would make sense even more so if he loves these children. He's their teacher. You know what I mean? Like these are his
And
pupils.
that would make sense even more so that Ange isn't even affected because she's actually no, I'm
Oh
kidding.
my
I'm totally,
God.
I'm totally kidding. Stop.
But no,
I think
but
it's
kind of
really
tragic because they trying to get them to walk past their parents because that's the easiest way to eliminate a massive amount of giants, because their parents would care the most about them and try to stop them. And
Yeah,
easy
that's messed up.
pickings.
I mean,
That is
think about
super
this.
messed up.
In Marineford, Ace almost lost completely his will. Well, the only person who was able to bring back his will was his brother. So, you know, the person who is supposed to have unconditional love. So it's like it's quite a horrible but good strategy if you want someone to lose their will.
Big facts. That's spicy.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the same arc that we're introduced to Gabon properly, and he is the self-proclaimed like missionary of love, and you know, obviously he's pretty Sanji coded, and we get this style of villain where with Sommers, the little bits of dialogue that we've gotten from him have been very much of that kind of philosophical alignment that is adjacent, but like maybe like even parallel, but like running the opposite direction, you know.
I agree
Yeah.
100%. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we
It's
see Scoffer
interesting.
versus Summers eventually. They even have a similar look to him as he's sat there at the table and the big smile while he's eating. The glasses on. It's such a similar panel to when Scoffer first came on the scene. And yeah, he uses love to hurt as opposed to love to help.
How tragic would it be, guys, if Gabon fought Sommers here on Elbaf and fell?
I mean, the flags are
Don't
all
you
there
put that evil on me.
for the old generation to all pass before the end. So
Exactly.
anything can happen.
We've only seen one of the old generation pass so far, and it's Whitebeard. But they're all on their way out. I
Yeah.
love that Vex was like, "Don't you put that evil on me. I already love Gabon."
He does.
He's
top
him,
3.
dude.
I do too, yeah.
But we talked a lot about Sommers fruit. Like, can we just speak about Killingham's fruit really quick and just how
course.
ridiculously busted this is? This
It's
is
almost
like,
hard to talk about, isn't it? It's
it could be anything.
Crazy.
Like, and we don't know to what extent it is. One thing that I think is very interesting is that we might be given a bit of a limitation without, it's like a show don't tell within the confines of this and the most recent couple of chapters, is that there's only 9 kids and there's only so many of these entities, these nightmares that came to fruition out of their dreams, right? So like, is that the hard limit that Killingham has as far as the ability to knock people out and pull it, because he said, I'm able to do this simultaneously multiple times. And he did it with salt, so like obviously he could do a little bit more than what he's doing right now. But like,
Yeah, he made all
is
their
that
food and stuff,
Sommer's is that Sommer's limit, that he can only enrapture so many people in thorns, or is that like Killingham's, nearing Killingham's limit? You know what I mean?
See, I think it's Sommer's limit and Gunko's limit. Maybe Gunko can only guide that many people at a time with her, because the arrow comes into play as well.
Yeah,
and
one
we
way or
do-
the other, we're given a little bit of information in
Yeah.
that it's only 9 kids.
Yeah, and I'm wondering that now too, because we saw with the large nightmare creatures that were created, these aberrations. Am I using the correct word there? I think I am. Anyway, apparitions. These apparitions.
Apparitions.
Apparitions. Cut that out, please.
That's not getting caught.
Apparition. Anyway, so we get though, when we saw those nightmare beasts, right? There was way more than 9 of them. There was, I think, 13 of them, 12 or 13 of them. There are quite a few more than 9 of them. So that's what makes me lean towards maybe Sommer's or Gunko's limitations, because the rest of the kids are still asleep, which we see is part of Killingham's power as well. But I like the idea of like getting a small bit of the limitations just from that one line of dialogue. Brilliant, Vex. Brilliant.
We also got another limitation, and I think this was absolutely genius, because the question would have been raised as soon as they showed the extent of this power. And that's when they says, I'm stuffed, hey, is this 0 calories? Yeah, well, of course it is. This is a dream meal. So it's tangible. They can taste it. They can eat it. There's no energy from it. This is why the celestial dragons have a food shortage. This is why there's still issues with supplying actual food to the dragons. If not, he could just pull out infinite food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's Oda just like making sure nobody gets the wrong idea here. Like, oh no. He can't solve the problem. They're still starving.
I like that idea. I didn't even think of that, like of it in that context. Because the way I read it is that, yeah, it's gonna fill you up, but it's no nutritional value. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it could like stave off starvation, but it doesn't give you, like he says, there's no nutrients to it, no calories to it.
There's actually another limitation. It seems to be. We have to be sure, but it does seem that the salt disappeared the moment we don't see the salt anymore. The moment Summers wakes up, so it might be as simple. So maybe waking up the kids can dispel those creations.
Yeah, I think it makes
which
sense. Is that's why they would be protected by the thorns.
Yeah.
So it's like covering one weakness or limitation by using another devil fruit's powers, which I think is such. We talked briefly about it in our last discussion, and I was under the impression that Sommers was the one behind the sleep thing. But we did get like his like sword is like like the whole like hilt guard thing is like a rose, so like that was kind of staring us in the face. But like one way or the other, we did properly assume that this was their multiple devil fruit powers working in tandem, or if it wasn't devil fruits, like some sort of like you know, exactly, some sort of abilities working in tandem. And I think if this is showing us some sort of like limitations, they're covering each of their blind spots with each other in such an interesting way, and I love that. Like, I think that's like actually ridiculous, because like, I don't know, when we're introduced to like the admirals pre-time skip, and we see that they have just like these crazy cracked like Logia abilities in like the Pika Pika and the Hie Hie and the Magu Magu, and like they don't need anything to cover their weaknesses, because we've seen in unfavorable elemental matchups, like they're still able to hold their own, and just they're like a force in and of themselves and whatnot. But showing that these are fruits that 2 of which are just what we can assume are just paramecia. They have their blind spots, their flaws, things that they are limited by, But when you put them side by side with proficient enough users, it becomes something entirely greater than the sum of its parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it changes the whole
Yeah.
game for a villain. Like, to have them working together just takes them to a whole nother. This is what makes a good power crew in the same way. Like, when they cover each other's
Mhm.
weaknesses.
Well,
Because-
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
Actually, is if we are correct in that they mostly have a working relationship, and this is their first time actually like on a job together, and that's why they are unfamiliar with each other's powers. Think about the battle the battle tactics that you have to meet up with somebody for the first time. Be like, okay, this is your power, this is your power, this is your power, this is how we combine them, this is how we use them effectively and get what we need to get done. That is insane. That is insane.
I love
to
that
think
too.
Yeah,
I was gonna bring that up because it literally Sombers asks like, hey, which path are you leading the kids by, Gunko? And Gunko mentions, they're going straight down the main branch, and they all seem to immediately tactically analyze and weigh the pros and cons of exactly what that one decision that Gunko made. It wasn't like they all just discussed it and Gunko was told and ordered to do that. Gunko made the call, and all three of them understand what that means, is that to be out in the open is to be vulnerable. And so like they all know exactly, like it's really interesting because having that level of like tactical and strategic prowess, it's like just looking at a chessboard and seeing where all of the pieces are set up, exactly what the optimal move is, and that shows like a really, really, really kind of scary level of proficiency from these individuals.
And it
Yeah.
suggests like
Yeah.
a previous battle experience that we didn't expect from any of the Gods Knights. Like, they're obviously accustomed to battle strategy and, preparation. And I was not expecting that at all, because like we know of very few incidents where they even got involved.
No, and see, but
Yeah.
in your sentences, all the evidence we know of. We don't know how many times they've infiltrated a country or done this or like they could be
Exactly.
Cipher Pole if Cipher Pole was actually a secret. You know what I mean? Like, because it seems like everyone knows what Cipher Pole is.
Yeah, but they're equally like assessing the different like bits of information that they're given, and I think that this is like, honestly, like there's a little bit of humor and a little bit of whimsy throughout this at the beginning, and then it starts to get more strategic and like big brain, and like they've all got like 5 heads, and then we get back to a level of whimsy whenever Gunko like actually shows something beyond her like stoic like facade. She actually is like, oh wow, this is delicious, and we can see both of her eyes go like super wide. This is amazing. And they're also talking about using the resources that are native here to Elbaf, like the sunstone painters, to their own advantage, and like this little interaction, just these few pages, is so good. Like I love this. The more and more that I read back through the chapter, I absolutely love what we're getting from the God's Knight so far, or the Holy Knight so far.
So do I.
And there's at least there's something that's quite interesting, is because what you're saying, it kind of made me think, is they're trying to know what's Gonko's thought process, the respect, they have good strategy mindset, in the battle. But it also shows that whatever changed for Shamrock to leave, maybe those two should have weren't supposed, like they were not the ones to come. The fact that they're asking it, like they're good at adapting. Because remember, Shamrock was shocked that why two? They say, oh, yeah, you have to go back, those kind of stuff. So it's quite interesting that it doesn't that they're doing it on the fly.
It's
So they didn't know
strengthened
what's
even
going
more
on.
so with what you guys are saying about like their ability to adapt and take in their surroundings and stuff with the next set of panels, which Gunko immediately is like, hey, keep your eyes up because Tribal's Brewing, Straw Hat Luffy is here. The Emperor Straw. I love seeing that too, by the way. I love when they call him an Emperor. The recognition, my boy. But Sommers, instead of being like, what, Straw Hat Luffy, or anything, just goes, huh? And then immediately takes that information in and cuts to another subject, which is, hey, aren't the kids heading straight for the fire? Which I think this kind of leans more towards it is Gunko's limitation on how many people she can direct, because she says, well, if they croak, we'll just send over the next batch. Which, once again, how evil is that? That you are leading these children possibly to their demise, and your whole, laissez-faire attitude about it is, well, if they go, we'll just send over some more. It is crazy to me. Vex, I agree. Rereading it here with you guys as we're going through it, this chapter is just, it gets better and better every time I reread parts of the action. I am loving what we're getting from the Holy.
We still don't entirely know what they have to gain out of capturing these children. Like, it could be like a sheep's house, Mother Caramel type of situation, but like legitimately the only thing that we actually fully grasp after seeing these interactions and whatnot and how they're utilizing their powers is like collateral damage is the name of the game. Like, the game is obviously like they're talking about like Killingham, I believe, literally says earlier in this chapter, like, oh, I love this game. And so there's a level of like elation and enjoyment, which is kind of sick and twisted, which you kind of need a little bit of that out of the villainous faction, obviously. But it's also like I said, looking at like a chessboard and understanding, oh, these are the sacrificial pawns.
Yeah.
And so like understanding like if that's so dangerous. If the bad guys are literally just sitting down having a picnic while causing unsurmountable amounts of chaos and collateral damage without even so much as lifting a finger. This is brilliant.
And only that, but like you guys said, like, what did they need the children for? What if they're trying to do what the government has been trying to do? They needed giant children. Remember, they wanted an army of giant children. That's what Caesar was working on. What if that's why they're kidnapping them? It's something that Oda has set up since, like, what, Punk Hazard? If not a little bit before that. The
It's
world
interesting
wants a giant
for
army.
sure. And it could also just be that maybe kids are more susceptible to like Killingham's type of power. Maybe somebody who's like fully grown, like Sommers, the most he can do is like pull some salt out of your dream bubble. But like kids have like such a more, we've seen that in fiction and literature, like time and time again, how like the imagination of a child is something that hasn't been like like smothered by the world and reality, and something so much so that it's a lot more unbounded. And I think that might also be something. No, go ahead.
I mean,
I was going to say, I like the idea that it's based on the belief of the kids. Like, the fact that they're not pulling these crazy creatures out of adults' minds is because they don't believe in them. But these kids actually believe these things could hurt them, so they're able to be manifested. They had to pull the
child's dream.
What you were saying, Vex, that's how Miss Goldenweek's ability works, remember? It works on the child's mind, or someone like Luffy.
Same thing.
Easier. Yeah. yeah, it is the same thing. Like, he does have the mind of a kid, and that's why it's just, he had like no reservation at all. He just got taken over completely. So I do like those type of powers,
In terms of motivation, though, like, I'm not sure if it's to necessarily get the kids specifically, or if it's to cause everybody else to become emotional and let their guards down. Like, I don't know if this little tea party now is just like them getting ready for a fight.
It's all tactical. Yeah.
I think that I definitely am curious about it, and I think that the reason why we're still unsure is, it's a genius, literary device by Oda, is leaving us a little bit more suspended in curiosity. It could be this, it could be that, it could be that. Oda's master at that. But it's also like, it's really interesting, because if we were to figure out exactly how Killingham's power works, then we would be less worried, and like he wouldn't be able to. Exactly. So I'm really wondering if it's something adjacent to like with Nika, like how Luffy just pulled the goggles out of his hair, and like if there's like some sort of like, I don't know, like, is he, this is implying because we've gotten confirmation through the use of Brooks Devil Fruit that there is in fact an afterlife, an underworld, or like some sort of like other realm of existence where the spirits go after they their bodies are no longer able to house them, right? So like, is this confirming that there is a dream world or infinite little bubble dream realities that this person is able to tap into? Because we've seen other devil fruits create their own like little self-contained like demi planes, like the mirror world, and like blue nose like door portals and stuff like that. So I'm wondering what the implications here are with this, and if he is able to reach into other like bubble universes that are created within people's dreams. And what if Luffy has his own that he is able to reach into as well? Which is like, I don't know, that like it makes me rethink, because Oda answered about that. It's like, it's Luffy's dream, right? Whenever we got those 10 questions.
Yep.
That's spicy.
Yeah, with what you're saying, I actually told that to Nak this morning. We were on VC, and I said the way Killingham's ability, that ability, like we could see it in different ways and much massively. And I'm thinking of Blackbeard as an example of him, what he did to Whitebeard. I'm wondering if this is like a breadcrumb of how Delphoid were first manifested. Like they're literally like abilities based off dreams. Like someone at one point took it, like, you know, like Kuma's fruit works, you know, took it out of people. Like the will.
What was it?
Or
what was it? Vegapunk said in Egghead, dude. Devil fruits are the, what is it? The dreams and will of others in another dimension.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's like we've been told this also by, you know, Vex's guy Law, when he talked about how he was able to reverse the illness fruit, and you could replace the word hockey with willpower. Any strong hockey user could nullify Delphoid ability. Like, are we getting a bit of a breadcrumb of why there's so much Delphoid? Like, maybe something happened to people, but they had such a strong wills that their dreams just came out. You know, it's interesting. That ability of taking out, it could be a breadcrumb idea for other abilities. You know, a format, and he's just giving this first iteration. So it's definitely interesting. This ability.
Absolutely.
Like, what's the limit?
Before we
Push it to the limit.
move on to the next kind of section of the chapter, I just want to touch on the fact that island clouds, ocean clouds, are at the same altitude as this plane, and we could be looking at a way to get to the passage of High West here, like many have suggested. We have confirmation ocean clouds are connecting to the tree. I have a kind of crackpot theory that the branch we got introduced to last chapter that was cut down after being struck by lightning was the former home of the Birkins. So I just want to throw that out here. You heard it here first.
That's brilliant, actually. So Enel would be the one to take out that town.
It's just interesting how they talked about how many years ago there was a village here, and it's called the Hogan Village, so it wouldn't be the city of Burka itself. But I'm wondering if there's a connection to Burka on that branch, because the whole branch had to be cut off after it was caught fire. So I think we're closer to finding out the passage to High West. If we go back to Skypiea, it says Burka is southeast of Skypiea, and if you take the map, it would be southeast of Elbaf would be the passage. So we have High West and then southeast, and they both line up on the map. So I'd love to see some more there, but just something I've been brewing.
The one thing I could give you to add to it is think about this. Skypiea was somewhat, you know, had a connection to an ocean island, which was Jaya. So it could be whatever that region is, could connect, because it is said as Birkin is a sky island, but it doesn't exclude that they were maybe connected better than Jaya and Chandora and Skypiea. You know what I mean? Like whatever happened to Burka happened to that tree, or whatever happened to that tree happened to Burka. You know.
Right.
And the fact that,
well,
you know,
there's also.
I'm just gonna say how Loki also attacked it is interesting. Lightning, which we know.
There's
and
also
destroyed
Giant Jag. which is
Yeah.
like literally a giant beanstalk that
yeah, true.
that was like next to Angel Island. That so I mean, it's really interesting, and I think it could be possible. I would think that it's probably maybe like what's connected to the upper realm. I don't know if it would necessarily be connected to specifically the Haugen village or whatever that was mentioned, but yeah, like it's definitely not ruled out. And again, I don't know if I need that necessarily, but it'd be really cool if we got it, you know?
Yeah.
I just love some more context on if we're in the right area. Everything seems to add to Elbaf being connected to Burka somehow. And like you said, I do think it would be more likely to be on the Heaven realm or the upper realm. And maybe this was a passage to get to that realm, and that's why we haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure, but I just thought it was interesting to bring up being struck by lightning.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. To get us back on track with the chapter, we head down to Loki's little area where he was captured. He is now up and wielding Ragnir. I'm not gonna lie, this panel, once again, him dwarfing the other giants, we kind of get a better perspective of just how tall he is compared to them. My goodness.
Do you think this is a better perspective? I think this just throws all perspective out the window. Because last chapter he looked way bigger than that.
Well, yeah, but in the last chapter, most of the angles we got of him were like from a ground level view, right?
Yeah.
Looking up. And with this, it kind of it gives you a better, like I said, a kind of a better scope of how tall he is compared to the other giants. But him saying that none of you can even lift Ragnir confirms it for me, guys. Usopp is lifting that that hammer.
No, Paladin's gonna lift it.
I actually, honestly, hear me out. And I have been kind of the biggest person against this agenda for a minute now. And I'm not fully on board with it, but I think it would be possible and very interesting. If Kid comes back into the story, he's lifting that hammer.
Ooh, yeah, especially if it's made of metal.
It'd be cake. It would literally be like it would be nothing like for him to be able to do it. I think because of his Devil Fruit ability. If we see him back on Elbaf, like actually touching down and on the shores, he's probably gonna be integral into dealing with that situation right there. Honestly, I think that he's literally the person, other than Luffy, who's made of rubber, so he can't be zapped by this massive amount of lightning coming off. I think that like Kid is the perfect person suited for like dealing with a hammer of that is like otherworldly heavy, you know, like as long as it's made of metal.
I'm gonna say something with her. When I first saw the panel, that crazy panel, it kind of made me think of, you know, it's a different timeline where Loki stole Thor's hammer. Sorry, I had to say it.
No, I totally think that's the implication they're giving. Nobody else can lift Ragnir like Mjolnir.
Yeah.
There's the one chosen one for the hammer. That's definitely the implication they're trying to give off. But knowing Oda, I'm expecting someone to lift the hammer, just in contrast to this big bolded claim that none of you could lift it. Right.
Well, I mean, and Usopp did literally make the joke like, who's gonna pull Excalibur out, like the whole sword in the stone trope, which is very similar to with Mjolnir, like only the pure-hearted can lift it and wield it. And so I think it's funny, and it would be if Oda Oda wouldn't have to do much to make me fall in love with Usopp actually lifting this hammer. But if Usopp just did it randomly and we never got any explanation, I don't know if I'd be okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's some chosen one for just chosen one stuff. And you know, it's hard for anybody to pull that off, even Oda. There'd have to be some setup involved for sure.
Yeah. But I do like just to go back, because I did jump in right after that. I do like the Kid angle. It's an interesting because if they bring him back,
I haven't actually heard that one, so it is a great angle because it's original.
Yeah, it's a great angle,
and
man.
it's
I like
actually
it.
kind of genius. But yeah, getting into the next couple chapters, like Loki makes it, or chapters, excuse me, panels. Loki makes a big claim, like, you know, will you let everyone die? I'll slaughter every last weakling in the Sun Realm. And then Paladin kind of gets shook here, like it's a threat that Loki could actually follow through on, which is very concerning. But he's, you know, he's not holding up. It leads immediately into him falling on the ground. But what did you guys think about this whole thing? Because I noticed how Loki says, damn, I guess I lost this round. Did he just have like a massive burst of emotion and stand up and crack the tree, and that's all he really had left in him?
Well, I mean, Zoro kind of mentioned like it was taking everything he had just to stand up.
You agreed. Yeah.
So to me, it kind of reminds me of like what we've seen with Luffy time and time again, and it happens pretty much at least once an arc where Luffy will get beaten into a pulp to a point where he can barely stand, but he's not gonna lay down because he can still stand. And so it's like, I think that it I don't know, it kind of goes in with a little bit of like I'm still believing that Loki is a softie deep down, at least to some degree. And this is yeah, this is kind of like that tough love, kind of like, hey, like I'm not gonna lay down, I'm not gonna stay sitting down, so you're gonna have to knock me out. Yeah, type of and that's very Luffy coded, and we've been saying this entire arc since we were introduced to him how he does have like that bit of like Luffy coding, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the first thing he says when he stands up last chapter and before the swing is like, I'm gonna save Elbaf. And this is how he gained the energy, because we can basically look at him last chapter as being in this same state, but he had, you know, a brief moment where he wanted to save Elbaf, and that's what gave him the strength, just in like classic protagonist fashion, you know, spirit of belief kind of stuff.
Completely.
And
I don't know if the crew needs two of them, but
and I think also, like, especially since, you know, Zoro is explaining, you know, the Loki stuff, while Luffy is explaining that, you know, all around Sanji. It's quite interesting. It kind of makes you think of it's Zoro's way to tell to Sanji to do a callback to Thriller Bark with the nothing happened. It's taking all his strength just to stand up, that's what happened with Zoro, and Sanji was the other one that was with him. So it's like, feels like it was Zoro's way of doing a callback without breaking that promise he made to himself to never tell Luffy. You know, which is interesting. It also gives Whitebeard vibes with Loki. You know?
And so far, Luffy and Loki is 2-0 now.
Yeah, I love Zoro though telling Hajirudin like, don't fall for it. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, something about Zoro lately. He's been taking his position as the vice captain of an emperor much more serious, and seeing him, because Hajirudin is Grand Fleet, so see Hajirudin respects Zoro's, you know, decision and telling him like, hey, no, don't fall for it. Like, I don't know, something about that moment really hit for me.
What's crazy to me, and something I'm trying actively to not overanalyze, so I'll just put it out there and I won't elaborate much, but y'all are One Piece fans, you know, if you made it this far into the recording. Zoro saying he was already at death's door, and we did see Zoro literally perceiving the Grim Reaper before. Is that something that maybe got, I don't know, like, is this maybe a breadcrumb in a trail leading to something a bit more grander down the line? Like, because that whole King of Hell motif,
that's gotta come back.
I'm just saying,
the Grim Reaper.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so I'm not really sold on it. I don't put a lot of stock into it, but it's something, you know.
No, I'm with you. I think the Grim Reaper stuff is serious, and I don't know specifically if he's seen something or if he can like sense when someone's spirit is leaving or like starting to fade. And I'd have to go back to Wano and really see like what was his reaction when Luffy's Haki and Will started to fall. But maybe there is something to it that he can witness someone passing.
Or close to it, or like, yeah, like almost could see their life gauge in a way. Luffy holding back on Loki too. I've been trying not to read into that because he only hit him with like a Gear 2 arm balloon. You know what I mean? Like
Gear 3.
Yeah, Gear 3. My bad. Like that's taking it easy on the guy.
Well, he's not trying to like end this dude, and like Zoro had said, he was struggling just to stay up on his 2 feet.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think that like Luffy.
And plus, Zoro
Obviously,
did
it
just
wasn't
say,
something
too,
it wasn't
like, his
something that
wounds are about
Luffy
to open up.
wanted to do, but Luffy
Mhm.
knew like this is going to be enough power to knock you out. But
Yeah.
he didn't have the intention to like end Loki's entire existence right here.
Yeah.
And Luffy never starts a fight at full force ever. Like
No.
Rob Lucci
Yeah.
come
He's like
at
Goku
him
in that way.
in Egghead most recently. They just squared off, and Luffy was like, he had no interest in showing any gears until Rob Lucci asked him about it. He was like, I can
What was that on your
hang with
bounty
you like
poster?
this. You know what I mean?
There's something that's quite interesting, and I think that person knows more what happened 14 years ago. I find it very interesting that before Rodo has his inner monologue, he says, "It certainly looks like someone tried to kill him. That's a separate issue from his prior crime." But then he says to himself, "It's just a hunch, but could it be?" I'm wondering what Rodo is thinking about because it feels like maybe he knows more about the whole Harold thing because he mentioned it
Yeah.
just before he thought of that. Like,
Well,
Oda's way
Yeah.
of like trying to hint to something.
Dude, is Roto Shaggy? Is he the guy that he was talking to?
I
We still don't know
actually
who
just
that
think
was.
he
No
might just be
way.
thinking about what happened when they met Scopper, and Scopper said about like the incredible hockey he felt up here recently. Like
Oh
his,
yeah.
he's just going through all these instances as a spectator, and Scopper just told him like there was incredible hockey. He went up to the castle. Nobody's supposed to be there. There's guards there, and like they're knocked out. And they said Shanks
No,
showed up, and like
guys.
you know what I mean. He's freaking out right now. He's just kind of
Clearly.
putting the pieces together.
He's thinking that it could be Ange.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, no, but
Of
just
course.
my thought
It's like
is,
3 days still
is
here.
that because Rodo has a lot of information on the whole Loki stuff, knowing about the key, the castle. Like we don't know how much, but it feels like maybe Rodo has. And don't forget, like he's supposed to be like very close to Harjuden, who the thing of King Harold is his father. So it kind of makes me think of Rodo might have some more information that we're not suspecting, but he has actually information he's keeping to himself as well.
Yeah.
Just the hunch thing. Because why mention, Loki? They kept reminding us of Loki's prior crimes. Like it's this craziest thing. Almost 2-3
Mhm.
arcs. There's always someone, 2-3 chapters. Always someone reminding us, "Oh, Loki's a bad person. Well, look what he did." Blah blah blah. But like, why
Yeah.
mention
They
it?
were
Why
trying to
Oda
sell
had
us
to
on it
Ted's known the
Yeah.
difference in that from the beginning. Let's be real.
since the
Yeah.
beginning, yeah. To move on a little bit, so we do get Luffy, captain of the Grand Fleet, making a request of his subordinate to save Loki's life because he can't just watch him die, which is so Luffy code. And I love the expression on Haijuden's face throughout this whole, like the whole Loki. Oda did such a good job of making Haijuden easily readable. Like he's
Yeah.
looking at Luffy, and you can just tell that, like, yeah, this is a man I respect. I follow him. I consider him the captain above me, and he's sitting here. This is the person that unalived his father, and he now has to choose to respect his captain's wishes or let his feelings get in the way of that. And it's a good moment, and to see Gerd doctoring it up, I love whenever does the thing that they're supposed to do. Like when Sanji cooks, you just get hyped,
Dude,
right? Because
I
he's
gotta
cooking.
stop. No,
It-
no, I gotta stop you right there. She needs to get Chopper down here. Several months. What is this? This is
Oh, yeah, that's
a
true.
One Piece. This is One Piece. This is a shonen. We do not have several months. We have 3 days, 72 hours at the maximum.
At max.
Where is
Yeah.
Chopper?
I'm
Yeah, we need
convinced.
Chopper.
No, I'm legitimately convinced that these Elbaf giants are secretly made of glass at this point because like a 5-year-old Linlin took down one of their like village elders and now this is gonna take months to recover from. I know that Gunko did, do a serious number on him, and he did get tore up by the Cerberus, like sword, the biting blade, and all that. And like, I get it, but like, it is crazy. And you want to talk about easily readable? Does that say whale blood? Right there. On the like, they're doing like a blood transfusion when it shows
I said
GERD.
whole blood.
Nah,
Yeah,
that says whale blood, brother. Like,
Whale
No,
blood
that
or
whole blood is in like wholly authentic Elbathian blood, not from a
nah,
nether giant
bro.
droid. That's
It's
how I took
because
it.
a whale is gonna be the only thing big enough for them to be able to transfuse into Loki.
Oh my God. That's facts.
dude, that says
That's
whale, bro.
crazy.
That says
That
whale.
That says whale.
It
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
say well.
Fun fact, guys.
I thought it was
Fun
gonna say
fact, guys.
white, but that is whale.
The arc where Laboon resurges is the same arc where Ors is introduced, and they're said, like ancient Onis is Loki's lineage with his father. So it's like I wouldn't be shocked that the will has a correlation, some deep lore,
Oh yeah.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
It is
but
the same arc as well.
I really do love, and like we've seen a transfusion before between Fishman and human, and they were like, that's something that has never been done before. But if they are utilizing whale blood, which a whale is a mammal, but still, you know what I mean? Like this reminds me a little bit because Jinbei is a whale shark, and
Yep.
Jinbei
Yep.
and Luffy had a blood transfusion, and Luffy and Loki have their similarities, and so I'm just like, it's really interesting. It's something to think about. And I love that Luffy like stands on business here saying like, I don't care what kind of man he is. Like I have unfinished business with him. Please save his life.
Mm-hmm.
And not just
Like, I
standing on
can't just
business.
watch
He's
him
standing
die.
on this man's horns. He's just sitting on his horns, talking to him. Like, yeah, these are real. Like, probably jumped on him a few times.
I won't lie. That moment where he has that request and Harjin is just look at him. Harjin looks just like Garp, the stern look of Garp when he was speaking to Ace
Yeah.
when he was a child. Like when
It's-
the Garp isn't goofing around.
That's
he's taking
Oda's
things seriously.
angry old man face.
Yeah.
And then Hajrudin standing over Loki though, and like being like, it's the mark of the ancient giants. Our father Harold was the same. And we get this little flashback, y'all.
Okay, before we get into this,
check your bingo
how
cards.
are
Yeah.
Loki's eyes still bandaged here? This is what I need answered. When did his eyes become bandaged? Because there was speculation it was when he was captured. There was speculation that like when the attack happened, or that it's to cover up some sort of power. But he had him since kid.
Is Loki
since he was a kid?
our first blind character in One Piece?
Laughs in Fujitora.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm dumb.
But
I'm so dumb.
But actually,
Keep that in.
I'm
Don't edit it out. Let the internet know I'm dumb.
yeah.
They
But
know.
I'm happy you brought up the Fujitora, because remember the details of why he blinded himself. Like he felt so strong. So I'm wondering if Loki, since the get go, maybe like he had something with certain observation, and like that was the only way to limit it. Remember, Fujitora made the whole thing. He had to blind himself for it to stop. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
like it's something similar. Like he felt stuff so strongly, and they had to blind him. So
I
like he
thought
could sense
Fuji was
everything.
a bit more emotional than that, though. Like he couldn't believe what he was seeing, like, and that's why he took his eyesight because of the atrocities of war.
Yeah,
It's like I never want
Like
to
he
see
was- but
something
that-
like this again.
yeah. Because I
I think
feel like
that-
it's. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm not trying to get too poetic and read too deeply into it, because he seems to be a very not deep character in this flashback. He's just kind of like talking mad shit and like, a little, instigator. But like,
Yeah.
if it's maybe that he has some sort of an imaginative power similar to Killingham or Luffy in Gear 5, and they're doing this to limit his imagination. And it's like, I don't know if it's like some
Ooh, I like that.
Some
it's
tragic
interesting
stuff.
if this is if this is something that he was just I don't know, like I'm kind of thinking this might be something along the lines of like how like Kenpachi Zaraki, like where's like this is like limiting his power, you know what I mean? like an eye patch. But
Yeah.
it's really, it could also be like maybe a personal choice in that he thinks that the world is ugly as it is, and he'd rather envision it the way in his mind. And like, I don't know, like like if he has like some sort of observation hockey that is at or even probably above Fujitora's, where he can kind of envision things and see aura and the way that the world is around him
Oh yeah.
through his like mind's eye. What
Yeah.
if the world he sees in his mind is just better than the one he sees physically through his actual eyes? So he does this out of preference. I don't know. It's really interesting to think about.
I like that
So,
line of
yeah,
thinking about, because if he was a child, this is a very childish way of like blocking out the troubles of the world, like the problems you see. It's all, I'll just close my eyes to it. You know what I mean? This is a very immature way of escaping the problems. You know what I'm saying? So if that was the reasoning, that would make a lot of sense. If he was like going through this, I guess, process of trying to understand what he was seeing in his head, like through people's emotions or through his hockey, he just, the only thing he
Another
could
thing
think of
though,
was just cover his eyes like a child would.
So
yeah,
just
one
oh
thing
yeah.
that I did want to touch on, well, before we get too far away from it though, is that the third option I was thinking of is that his mother was mentioned to not be of Elbathian like descent, and so that is like why, like part of the reason why he wasn't taken seriously, or like there was like
that
there's
was
been
Hydruden.
Yeah,
so
Loki is
do we
is from
know if
Elba.
Loki's mom, okay, because I was like,
Yeah,
what if he was part like 3-eye
Oh, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
and
Just
they're just covering that up?
to finish my point of the whole food short, because it does go, the last point of X said is, if you could take another an example, is Kobe, how he felt about things, like it was like affecting him in a personal level. So I could see Loki in a ways that they covered his eyes, or he covered his eyes because he could have a different reaction. But maybe like, let's say that he felt everything on the island, and so instead of like trying like Kobe, he would destroy everything, you know what I mean, like
Let's think
literally
about it like a
going
child like
insane.
Isa.
Yeah, pushing. Yeah, yeah, like push him to Isa as well. Like push him to a frenzy. But the difference is Loki is like born different. So what happens when you have someone like that that's been influenced? So I kind of makes you think of it was to protect him and the rest of Elba from his
He
from
built
that, you know.
different.
Right? Like if I see, like if in this hypothetical, like if Isa was to go through this process and didn't have someone to help her through it, much like Loki probably didn't with his, she would have felt like plugging her ears was the solution. Just hearing all this
Yeah.
chaos in her life. So yeah, I totally see what you're going at.
Loki was mean to Hydruden when they were kids.
Yeah, but Ace
Called
was
him a
mean to
bastard.
Luffy. Give it up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
ASL. Yeah, ASL. Like remember what he
Let
did
it
to
play
Luffy?
out.
Like
I see so many people saying like, "Oh, Loki's not a good guy. Look how much of a dick he was." And I'm like, "Yeah, Ace was a
Oh
real
no,
one
he's still a
too.
good
Like,
guy.
you
The
just wait."
funniest take is that somebody said that Hadrian ain't him because he got bullied by his little brother. And I was like, damn, let's go. That's hilarious.
He
As
got big
the
broed by
youngest
little
child,
bro.
I think that's so funny.
Oh, that's too funny. But it's a great moment though they have here in the last few panels. Especially the one where he's standing up holding the axe, and while Loki's
Yeah.
on the ground, he's like, "This is my chance. Like I could take him out right now."
He
All these
insulted my
years
mother
I've
and killed our
wanted to.
father.
You know what I'm saying? All these years I've been tormented by the memories of Loki. I could end it right now. And you even see everybody react. Hold on, calm down. Like, you know, there's some animosity that Harden's been holding on to for a long time. And I wonder if he comes to peace with this, if he comes to understanding, he'll actually become a better, more powerful warrior in that process.
hey, listen, I'm gonna just say this. I think I do understand Harden, because Harden, how bad it could be, because you just said it. He insulted my mother. It killed our father. Seems a bit extreme to take him out. And then Loki could have said anything, and he says, "Do it already." This whipping warrior thing has gotten old. Like, dude is not helping himself. He is
No,
definitely
dude,
not
but that
helping
last
himself.
Yeah,
line.
well, I totally
Yeah.
understand Harden's perspective, but
Yeah,
Loki
yeah,
seems
yeah,
to be
yeah.
raised as this cold, unforgiving, like he
Person,
has
yeah.
no like he doesn't accept compassion to these people anymore. They all locked him up, accused him of something he doesn't think he
Yeah.
did. You know what I mean?
He said Yeah, which is proven by what he says, man. That you're so drunk on all this personal drama, you can't even see the forest for the trees. But it's
Yeah,
the
that'll be great.
follow up that tells me that maybe he does have some kind of feeling towards Hydruden. Like he says, "Don't tell me you're really like the rest. Think I actually killed our father in cold blood." Like it makes me think that maybe Loki is bitter that his brother didn't even try to hear him out. That
Right.
his brother, out of everyone, didn't want to believe him when he
Well, he's
said, "I killed it. I didn't kill him." You know what I
this
mean?
is
Like
of an exhausted man. Like, I know he just got beat up and like taken out nearly, but this is the face of someone who's just tired of trying to sell his story. Like, he's just like,
exactly.
oh, man, I'm tired of this. Do whatever you're gonna do. Like,
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be impossible for Hadrian to, in this moment, I feel like it's going to be impossible for him to believe him, because if you like, he mentioned that everything as a kid, it was all lies. This guy was so mischievous, this guy, so
Mhm.
like, of course this would be the words to come out of his mouth.
deep seated.
So I don't think Hadrian is going to believe it. I don't even know 100% if I believe it, but it does add a lot to the agenda that Loki did nothing wrong. Hashtag
Nothing
free
wrong.
Loki.
Yep.
We've been
Yeah.
there. We've
Hashtag
been there
free
the whole
Loki.
time, y'all. Like, but I mean, it could go either way still, because if you were somebody who was conniving and deceitful and mischievous and a trickster, this is exactly the words that you would be saying.
I know Loki's
which
devil
is-
fruit. The
What?
gaslight, know me.
But see,
Oh my God.
I think that, but it's Hydruden's reaction at the end of the chapter when Loki says, "You don't really buy it, do you?"
Oh, it's
That's
just
the face
like
of like
someone who's hearing it for
makes
the
me think
first
that
time.
Hydruden. Yeah, exactly. Like, or it's the tone that Loki's using at this moment. That maybe Hydruden knows. Okay, yeah,
Fair.
he lies like this. He does this, but with this tone, Loki has never told a lie or something like that. Like when he talks in this manner, that is.
Well, I had
when
the
you
same
know you can
initial
trust what he's
reaction,
saying.
but at the same time, it's almost like you're gonna try this crap with me again.
Yeah,
Like, we've had
Yeah,
this
I can see that
conversation
as
and I'm
well.
tired of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes you think of the problem is in Loki, it's the person who said that he did the deed. Like if it's Ja Rule, like because Ja Rule does have like this weird thing where people are
Hashtag
taking
Ja
his
Rule did it.
his word is like it could be similar
I'm
to
not sure yet.
Sabo. Like the one survivor, the one who survived, Ja Rule, just said Loki was there, just said it was Loki. And then anything he said, like it's a whole trope of Captain Kuro and Usopp in Sir Village. The most honest, everyone thought he was the most honest person against the biggest liar, not realizing that, and then the kids believed Usopp at the beginning because they know Usopp. The only ones who see through him. So it kind of makes you think of the problem of Harjuden isn't Loki, is that the person who said it is just someone that people trust 100%.
I would say there's a lot more to the Loki factor, though. I'd say it was a lot easier for Harden to accept Loki as the culprit because of their history growing up. Like, um, I don't think Harden even thought twice. Like, if he was told Loki did this, he'd be like, "Of course he did." Like, the evil
Yeah.
person. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna take something big for Harden to get past this. This is like really deep disgust for this person. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
they had a good relationship at all based on the little flashback we got. Um, Now, like I said, Ace was pretty nasty to Luffy for a few years until they figured their stuff out. But this is, I don't know. I don't think they had that much time to grow together based on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, I don't even think that Loki even did the deed. Like it's like the Sabo thing. It's the way he said it. He doesn't say like I had no other choice, those kind of stuff. Thinking I actually killed our father in cold blood kind of makes you think of wrong place at the wrong time.
It's
Like he
almost like
can.
it's almost like
That
we've all been saying that.
Yeah, that is the case. That is one way to interpret it. But another interesting interpretation is like, you don't think I killed him in cold blood, as in you don't think I killed him without my reasons, as if he still did the deed, but there was reasons
Or if
behind it.
Yeah, like hear me out. So we've seen time and time again with like Mother Caramel bringing forth Pandora and we've seen with Sun Painter Stone and the Svalars, like they have like flying ships and like they can sail on rainbows. And there's so much about this place, and they worship, you know, Nika, and Luffy and Gear 5 can just pull stuff out of his hair. Now we're introduced to this killing him power from the mythical Zoan, and we saw that there was a circle that could have possibly been there before the castle had been messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting to me is like if Killingham had been to Elbaf before, it would be really interesting if he was somehow behind what was happening with Harold, and the only way of ending it was Loki to deal with Harold.
Oh, yes.
However unfortunate that may be.
Right.
And then the next person in line for the hierarchy would be Ja Rule. And what is in Ja Rule's head but a sword? And it's really interesting as well, is because
sword.
it's like putting an idea in somebody's head is something that Killing Him, we literally saw him do with the salt in this chapter. And the thing is he's like, oh, good thing the sword saved me. And it's only because he believes that the sword saved him that it actually is saving him. Because if that would have happened to somebody who believed that it would have put them down, they would have been put down. So maybe this could tie into the whole Louis Arnault thing, where it's like, be careful of staying here too long, because maybe this is just something that is characteristic of this tree or the land of Elbaf, is that these types of phenomenon kind of happen here. Or maybe it is something that someone with a similar power set to Killing Him, or even Killing Him himself, had expressed in the past, and that Ja Rule is like a sleeper agent or something. Like, I don't know, it's something to think about. And again, I don't know how much stock I put into it. I do lean more towards the fact that Loki was framed, but I don't know if it was Ja Rule specifically. But there's just a lot to think about, because some of these dots do seem to connect in very coincidental ways.
So hear me out, based on what you just said, because you did bring up Killingham's, like if he was there. We also know something else. Even before Loki was born, he was prophesied as an horrible person, right?
Cursed Prince.
That's going to bring misfortune. Yeah, a cursed prince. It's crazy, but there were 400 giants, right? What if Killingham was there? He pulled his Delphoid ability on one of them, but instead of Loki doing the one, he created a Nightmare Loki. Looked just like Loki, like those creations, and he was doing the deeds, and Loki was obviously making the moves, you know, playing on their fear, their nightmare.
Right.
Like that prophecy happening, you know, but Killingham, he's the one who made it. It's not a real one, you know, based on their belief.
Yeah.
Just a thought. You made me think of that when he brought his Delphoid. Like, dude, that would be crazy.
I want to touch one more time on like the whole event of 13 years ago. This will kind of be my final thoughts on the chapter as a whole too. But there's a lot of ways we thought it was going to go that keep getting kind of confirmed. But the more we get answers on what we think happened, the more he throws curveballs. So like at the beginning of the arc, we were instantly like, oh, Loki was framed. And, you know, we all thought Ja Rule was up to something. There's something weird going on here. But now, the more we get into it, Oda's expanded this mystery. And to say one way or another is, I think, impossible at this point. Like, we can have our guesses. And I do think Loki will ultimately turn out to be justified in what he did, whether it was the act or not speaking about what the act was, whichever that comes to be. But I'm more along the lines of Harold being kind of the bad one in the whole situation, but we'll see more how it plays out. And getting these flashbacks, getting this stuff with the Gods Knights, I love this chapter. I'll just say it now. I give this chapter a solid 8 out of 10. And can't wait to see what Oda brings us. I don't think we have a break week next week either.
We do not. Thank goodness. I'm so ready to figure out what. But yeah, crew, let's give all of our final thoughts and ratings for the chapter as we do at the end of all of these discussions. Let's go next to Vex's. Vex, rating and how'd you final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Nak said and a lot of what I said earlier. I'll just kind of echo that. Here's the interaction that we got between Summers, Killingham, and Gunko was perfect. And it's exactly what I love to see out of like an antagonistic front. And again, it's just there's something so diabolical about all of this mayhem and carnage and collateral damage and an entire nation full of the strongest warrior culture in possibly, you know, recorded history just being completely dealt with by a people just three dudes or three people having like a lovely little picnic, you know.
Yeah.
It's
The
actually
contrast is serious.
crazy.
Yeah.
The flex and the back and forth between like the whimsy and the like the suspense
The
and
diabolical.
like yeah, it's really something else. And this chapter was it was great. I honestly probably give it like an 8.5. I'm gonna wait again as I normally do until I see the officials to really solidify my thoughts on some of it, because some of the wordings on some of this could be slightly different, but
Mhm.
it's really picking up. And again, like we said with the last couple of chapters, I don't think the real thick of it has even close to begun, because these people are just sipping tea and and having like a little picnic. And
Mhm.
when we see them actually flex, it's gonna be crazy, because even handling like a tied up Loki, Gunko didn't really lift a finger too much, you know. So it's yeah, I'm so excited to see how this all unfolds.
Could not agree more. Cube. Next up,
So I'm gonna
rating and final
follow.
thoughts.
Yeah, so my rating, I'm gonna follow my format I've been doing the last couple of months. I'm giving it Jinbei's first bounty that he had in the Sun Pirate, a 7.6. Honestly, I like this chapter. It was obviously in terms of like interaction was good. In terms of like information or lore was a bit less, but then the last three chapters were just so good. But yeah, so I give it 7.6 because it is a lot of interaction, but you could feel like stuff are being brewing. Introduction of Delphoid abilities. Getting
Yeah.
getting finally an advancement on the whole Loki storyline, and it's all being dragged a bit more because I didn't want this whole what Loki did. It does seem like we might be getting soon to the flashback. We got the first Oda's way of, before we get into the flashback of his arc. Let me
The
tease you
pre-flashback
a quick
flashback.
a flashback, like a quick panel of it. So I'm
Yeah.
happy we're getting to it. So yeah, 7.6.
Nice. Yeah, I'm actually very similar rating to Vex. I get an 8 out of 10. I think that'll go up to a 9 actually once the officials drop. But for right now, it is an 8. I felt when I first read the chapter that it was a bit of setup. There's a lot of segue and stuff, but like Vex had said, just to echo his sentiment, that picnic scene was fantastic. Like he said, just to echo you again, it's whimsical, it's diabolical, like it's serious, it's tactical. Like he fits so much into just such a short section of the chapter. And then with the Loki stuff, I'm actually kind of opposite of you, Knack. I don't think Harold was a bad person. I think he knew he was going to be slain, and I think he knew who was going to do it. Uh, I
But
do
you know
think
what?
that there may
That's
be
the
a
beauty of it,
possibility.
because we were all
Yeah,
kind of on the same page in the first couple chapters. Like, oh, we see where this is going, and now
yep,
there's many different routes. So I do like
yeah,
that there is
exactly.
multiple options.
Well, I do see the viability of the possibility that like he could have been like he could have told Loki to do it. Maybe there was a reason that Loki had to put him down. I also love the possibility of Jiao Rule had his hand in and covered up what was actually happening. There's so many, like you had just said, there's so many possibilities for how this would go down, and I cannot wait to see what Oda cooks up in these next few chapters. Not only that, but we still have what's going on with Frankie. I know Robin is a little with the whole kids thing, but once that is over, we still have a lot more lore, I'm sure, to get back to in the library with Biblo. Um, we still need to figure out what's going on with Usopp and Brooke and Nami. Like they're still at the village. There's so much to look forward to in Elbaf, and I'm so glad that Oda has Now, since the beginning of the year, he has not stopped dropping just amazing, amazing chapters. Some of the best storytelling in the entire story. But yeah, with that, I believe that is all for us today. I want to thank my lovely crew here for being here today. And of course, if you've made it this far into the video, I want you to leave that tag. Ted was right. Loki did nothing wrong. So 2 hashtags. Hashtag Ted was right. Hashtag Loki did nothing wrong. Drop it in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you aren't already. If you've made it this far, you definitely enjoy our content. So make sure you hit that button. It really helps smaller channels like us. And with that, Kube, take us off.
Yes, guys. Everyone, hop into the fire sphere, and we'll see you all the next sunrise.